Well, I've waited long enough for the BBC to actually report on the people standing up for their human rights in London over the weekend, but as per usual it didn't come. This will of course shock very few of you because they always seem to do it every time people stand up against this medical lunacy or some woke bullshit their ideology supports. Obviously, as soon as BLM or Extinction Rebellion start a little protest or even publicity stunt, the BBC are all over it like a fly around shit. I mean, take Sunday night, Dateline London on BBC One. Not a single mention of the massive anti-health passport protest, but there was literally an Extinction Rebellion love fest with some utter wet wipe correspondent who had spent the day pissing off people's lives with XR tosspots. Yep, this fuckpig spent the day out blocking roads with his pals. Take a listen to it here.
The centre of London full of demonstrators from the Extinction Rebellion movement protesting and calling for the end of the use of fossil fuels. Some question whether the demonstrations will achieve anything. Many suggest the gap between government rhetoric and actual actions, though, is even wider than ever. Activists, for their part, have been accused of vandalism after pouring fake blood into the fountain outside Buckingham Palace. Justin, you're our chief environment correspondent. Yes, you are absolutely the perfect correspondent to be with us this evening. What effect do you think, if any, Extinction Rebellion's actions are really having in moving the dial on climate change?
Well, I mean, look, they do get attention, they get the issues discussed, sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, but I'm not sure that's the prism through which you should see what's happening, in the sense that, look, they have a legitimate right to express their views. They feel passionately that the government isn't doing enough to tackle what they call the climate emergency, and they feel powerless to do to change the government's views without going onto the streets and sort of making their protest clear. And I think that in democracies it's legitimate for people to express their opinions in this way. Yeah, some of it's theatrical and dramatic, and they were pouring blood outside the London Stock Exchange this afternoon. But I mean,
you've been with them. I
was with them with the I've probably got bits of fake blood on my shoes still. Yeah, I was with them today. Yeah.
Are they going to annoy people more than they're going to achieve their aims?
Yeah, I mean, there have been actions that other Extinction Rebellion activists thought weren't appropriate. They've calibrated this very carefully. They occupy road junctions, but they're not very busy road junctions. They've got these great dramatic sculptures. They're actually quite careful not to cause too much disruption. A little bit, but not too much. That's what they're hoping.
Yeah, it's a balancing act, isn't it? Thank you very much. Thank you to Mark and to Jeff.
Well, the BBC was very impartial during that little segment, I'm sure you would all agree. What you will notice is the anti-health passport march in London is not mentioned once, despite the numbers involved being an order of magnitude greater than the Extinction Rebellion establishment-sponsored protests. But then again, I guess it really shows what movements the publics will support and what movements are government and media promoted bullshit not supported by the majority of the country, obviously outside lefty activist tosspots, as you know. Anti-lockdown, anti-health passport marches have tens of thousands of people at least in them, while Extinction Rebellion has literally a few hundred at most, even with 24-hour BBC and media promotion. But one thing it does show is us random plebs working together has more pull with the general Joe public than the media and establishment ever will. And let's be honest, distrust in the media and government is only growing with their authoritarian lunacy and the fact that they ignore protests like the lockdown ones and obviously the anti-health passport ones we had this weekend. The BBC of course won't be reporting on the untold thousands who have been protesting in countries around Europe following their health passport mandates breaching everyone's human rights. The shitweasel media obviously don't want the British public to see nations' population standing up and saying you can stick your health passports where the sun don't shine. This is because the media and government are worried we will do the same, which the weekend shows people will do. Arseholes puckering up tighter than a snare drum every time shit like this happens, let me tell ya.